Here's Jordan Joe Hollabaugh.
3.1. She's in the money.
She was about as fast as she could have been on that
one. 2.9 seconds. And now she is number one.
You are officially in the loop. Good morning.
It's a crazy morning. I gotta head to the airport after we're done with this.
You gotta teach me how to braid my hair like yours.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. They're clip-ons. No, I'm just kidding.
You got extensions too?
They came with a hat.
What does every cowboy or cowgirl need? Extensions and a cowboy hat. Whatever person needs. Well,
No.
Mo brings plenty. Thank you so much for joining us today on In the Loop podcast. Excited to have you. Just one of the things I love about rodeo is I feel like we're all family right off the bat. It's not any kind of insecurities or anything like that. It's just like I feel like I've known you for a very long time. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me on. I mean, you got a lot going on and you're amazing in what you do. And I sure appreciate your time today as well.
Yeah, we're excited to visit about it. So actually what brought us together, and I think that's another cool thing about rodeo, it's opened so many doors for me and literally given me everything I've got, which I know a lot of your history too. Outriding the Devil premiere, Mr. Rain, he called, we're a big part of it. And he's like, yeah, Mo Brings Plenty is going to be the MC, is going to run the whole event. And I was like, oh, really? Cool. So that's how our conversation got started. And I was like, well, I would love to visit with him. And he's like, oh yeah, we'll make it happen. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm sorry. So yeah, I'm very excited, a little giddy to have you on the podcast today. But tell us a little bit about your role in Outriding the Devil and kind of what part you're going to play in that in Las Vegas here on December 9th.
I mean, I'm looking forward to this premiere. I mean, this is an amazing story, and it just goes to really, for me, it highlights the resiliency that rodeo people have, rodeo athletes have, including their partners. Horses, they go through a lot as well, and they give their all. I mean, you look at good horses that may be struggling with a little slight injury, but they have such a big heart that they don't want to let down their partner, and vice versa. And so I just love it because to me, this is what athletes are really about, I mean, hanging around both roughies and hanging around timies. I mean, you see the endurance that they have to get to one rodeo, to get to another rodeo, to get to another. And the cards don't always fall in their favor, but they still keep pushing forward.
Yeah. And I think too, as we highlight Angela Ganner, just a little background about this video. We don't want to give away too much about the documentary, but we talk about Angela Ganner, which Jackie Ganner and I are the same age, kind of grew up together. And it's a powerful story. She's overcome cancer, four stage 4 cancer. I mean, it's a huge battle. And they're like open, honest all the way through. They talk about it and it takes rodeo back to the history. So I'm excited about it. I know you're excited about being there on December 9th and all the things, but Las Vegas is something too you're rolling into. You're so active in everything with the rodeo community. And I know that you have a huge history with horses yourself and your passion there. So give us a little background on Mo Brings Plenty, your history with horses and why that passion still burns within you.
I was born and raised on a Pioneer Indian reservation in South Dakota. And, I grew up on dirt roads, truthfully and honestly, where you drive on those dirt roads and you don't get enough rain, then the powder gets so thick. And so there was only a few means of transportation: bikes, walking, or horses. And we lived out in the boonies. I mean, we were so country that my little brother and I we would dress up and run around the house and knock on a door for trick or treating. I mean, it was the same house. And so, but for me, horses was my escape, honestly and truthfully. I mean, they were my escape from the trials and tribulations that we were going through as American Indian people. I always like to say I was Indian before Indian was cool. And then, to have the influence of a Howard Hunter Sr., who was a hero of mine, and he's qualified for the NFR a number of times, an amazing saddle bronc rider. I mean, a true horse whisperer, so to say. I mean, I've watched him. I remember when Babe, his son Howard Jr. and we always called him Babe since we was kids, and but him and I came home from school one day, and there was a horse tied up in the round pen, and so we always knew. I mean, we flip a coin to see who had to get on first, and he had one leg tied up, and that bronc, man, he dumped us both. And so old Howard, he was like, "That's it. All right, get out, you boys." And so he untied his leg and he jumped on that horse and he said, "Open the gate up," and he went out. Just open country on the res. That's one thing that I miss, is that, you can ride for a long ways before you hit a fence line. And they were gone for a few hours, and he came back and he thought that horse was broke to ride for a number of years.
Wow.
And but he was my childhood hero, and still is today. I mean, he took the punches that came and never gave up, and he was a master at his craft, but he was humble all the way through it.
And I think humility and just the tenacity to never give up. Bailey Bates is another Navajo friend of mine, and she came on 15 Days of Breakaway. We talk about breakaway, all the top 15 breakaway ropers. And so she was telling me about the res, and she's like, that's what taught me how to rope. She's like, literally, I'd get on my horse and there's cattle everywhere, and we'd go out and we'd rope. And like you say, you're not hitting a fence line for miles. And for me, learning about your culture, being on the outside in, I just think that that's so special to know, like, there's a piece of that like, you guys are so awesome, not only to just talk about your history and your roots, but to share it with others, but then you're giving back to the Navajo community too. But it always leaves an impact on your heart, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I look at a lot of the great hands that had followed, Howard Huntley Sr. and even those before him, and as American Indian people, we've always been a part of the rodeo community. I mean, that's what makes it the Western heritage. I mean, there's such, the bridge between us all is horses, bottom line. And we've always had horses in this country long before the Spanish had brought theirs. And that's one thing that's been, lacking in that education. But so for me, growing up, as my Lakota name is Tashin Pampu, is how we say it. It means he catches a horse, and horses made an impact for me. They took me around the world, and they got me where I'm at today.
Absolutely love that. One of my friends, Rhonda Lane, has a podcast called Peace by Lane, and she introduces everybody's Navajo name at the beginning, and they talk about that history. And I'm always like, could you translate that in ChatGPT for me? Because I definitely don't know what that means. But I do think that it's such a prestige within each and every one of the Navajo people. So say that for me again. Say your name for me again. And the Mo brings plenty. That doesn't have it. That's a different name than your Lakota name. Explain that.
Well, so Tashun Kunus Pampu is how a male would say. A female says Tashun Kunus Pampi. And so it means he catches his horse. And brings plenty is a family name that, there's a story with that as well, that has been with us since the reservation life has begun, because they couldn't comprehend that a female has her own identity. Mm-hmm. And so she didn't have to have a surname or take on the husband's name. Well, when that was put upon us, then Brinks Plenty became the surname and has been with us since the late 1800s. And so, yeah.
I love that. So expand a little bit more now. Where are we at with the females having their own identity and their own name? I know you're a huge advocate for that. Can you expand on that just a little bit more?
Yeah, because, we don't, honestly, for us, we have a matriarchal setting. So when you read history about my people as the Lakota, you're going to hear about a crazy horse, a sitting bull, or a gull, and so on and so forth. But honestly and truthfully, there was a group of women, there was a council of women that were the honest, true leaders. And so a sitting bull would have to go after they had their meeting and their gathering, then Sitting Bull, they would request Sitting Bull, and he would show up, and then they would tell Sitting Bull what needed to be done, and he would go out and carry it out. And so even in nature, because all of our culture, our language, everything came from nature. And so when you look at nature, the females are the leaders in nature. And so that's just the way we grew up, and that's the way we were raised.
I love that. Reflecting it off of nature. And I think too, as I'm processing that, we get tied up in the ways of the world and just kind of running and playing it. I don't think we take enough moments to reflect on nature and really like how God created everything.
Absolutely. God created everything perfectly, and it is our duty. Everyone asks me, well, man, I'm trying to find my purpose. I'm trying to understand my purpose. Well, your true purpose is to find out how to coexist with God's creation. Because God, it's obvious and apparent that God is the one who loves diversity. Very obvious. If God didn't love diversity, then there'd only be one race of people, one species of trees, and one rock, all the same size, same color, same weight throughout the universe, not just this world. But God loves diversity. And so if we can't understand how to coexist and live with that, diversity, then who are we to believe we will be welcome there where diversity exists?
That's so good. Just letting that soak in.
Yeah.
I mean, mic drop, podcast over. No, I'm just kidding. No, and I love that. And I mean, that leads me to my next segment of these questions is Yellowstone. Everybody knows you probably from Yellowstone originally. I think in the rodeo world, we like I said, you're like, oh, hey, there's Mo, but at the end of the day, we first saw you on Yellowstone, but you were a co-creator in how the Indians were portrayed, the Navajos, all of the things. You basically observed all that. Was that,
Well,
talk us through that process.
I want to set the record straight. Taylor and I had a common. I'm not a co-creator. I'm a supporter.
Okay.
So Taylor would have an idea, and he would share that idea with me. And I know in this day and age, they say there's like a taboo in sharing certain things, but truthfully, the only taboo is that we are not embracing what God created us to be and standing true to that, because our way was always an open. I mean, a golden eagle it's a golden eagle to us is very sacred, but it's not going to hide from the world. It's going to be seen. And the same with an elk, the same with everything that we consider sacred, and so Taylor had the idea of different aspects, throughout, not just Yellowstone, but, 1883, 1923. And so we shared, I would share he would give me the idea. I would make phone calls. If it's about the Lakota people, I would call those that I respect and that are true leaders and have conversations with them. And if it's the Crow, I would go to the Real Bird family and others, the white man family. Depending on if it's the Comanche, then I would go to my adopted grandmother Ruth and ask, just different elders, and it all depends. And so I would make sure that, because we understand there's a fine line, and Taylor does too. And so we would see how close we can get to that line by pushing that envelope a little bit, not to expose, but to help society understand that we still exist and that we still embrace who we are. I mean, you have to understand too that our way of prayer was banned until President Jimmy Carter signed the Indian Religious Freedom Act in 1976.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I remember the days when it was outlawed and how scary it was. If you got caught, you could be prosecuted, incarcerated, or executed. That was still a law.
Oh my goodness.
1976. And so I'm very thankful to President Jimmy Carter and all those who pushed that through, and Leonard Crow Dog and everyone that put forth efforts to allow us to practice our way of prayer.
Well, and just like you were saying earlier, those people were created unique in stepping into the diverse roles to help to bring that to knowledge and to life. Because for me, I'm truly a student of the game in every game. They call me Sheldon because I like to learn. And so but to me, like, if you don't tell those stories, I don't know. And I think just like keeping the history alive is retelling these stories and sharing the significance. And how neat was it that you made sure and tried to do right by each and every tribe to make sure it aligned with their values, their ways, like you said, that fine line. I just think that that is so neat that you did that, and then just encompassing that to bring it to the show and represent the history there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been fortunate. I mean, and it takes great courage from someone of a different race as well to stand beside us and to support that, And so I'm honestly, truthfully thankful to Taylor Sheridan to have that type of courage to be able to do that. A lot of people, they would try, and then when it gets a little heated, they pull away. But that's the difference between country folks or the Western heritage folks and others. Western heritage folks don't give up because they know what they're doing is going to be right and it's going to be good.
And I know there's got to have been, just within all the diversity of you and your career, some heated moments where you were like questioning, hey, is this where the path I'm supposed to be on? Is this not? Share with us on some of the ways that through life you've experienced, like, hey, this works, maybe this didn't work that great. Like, give us a little feedback there.
I mean, there, of course, we all have those. We all hit those slumps where it's just not one bad day. It's just a continuous bad day after bad day. And then it begins to mess around with your psyche, with your mental state. And then once your mental state gets disrupted, then your physical, your emotional, everything begins to just begins a snowball effect. And so what I found in my life was that prayer was the best way to calm all of that, because there's storms every day. And what I love about Mother Nature is that she's brutally honest. And at times even the innocent gets caught in the storm. And so but we all make it through one way or another. And as long as we stand true to who we are, then we will always make it through. And then I walk with that confidence, but I also walk with that humility. And I'm reminded every day. I mean, I got a young horse right now that is, I don't know why I love this horse, because he's yard darted me a couple times, but maybe that's the reason why.
Funky.
And he just has a great personality, but he's a good reminder to me of how to be in this world, and how to live. And that's what the braid represents too. One strand represents God, another strand represents the earth, which is also our physical body, and the third strand represents our soul. And so when those three are brought together, it's a reminder of how to go through this day that I'm blessed with, everything in mind. And then we put two braids in front because it's a way to honor the women. We as men, we start our lives in the arms of a woman, and then hopefully we're blessed enough to spend our life in the arms of a woman. But in our last days, our arms will be spent, and our lives will be spent in the arms of a woman. And so we have to honor and respect that as well, because women are the life givers. We as men, we're not blessed with that gift. And we don't know how to nurture, we don't know how to love the way that women do, to the level and the degree that women do. So we're students to that. And so that's why I braid my hair every day. Trust me, there are days where I wish it was short, where I could just wash it and throw a hat on and go out the door. But I have to get up extra early and do other things, and make sure. And it's a prayer. It's a prayer.
Well, I was going to say, so to me, as you're saying that, I'm like, you're starting every day with intentionality. And as you're going through and braiding that, like you're saying, it is a prayer and it is a declaration and it is how you start your day every day. And I had no idea that that's what the representation and symbolism was.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this is why I say I was Indian before Indian was cool, because I remember the trials and tribulations and the judgment, the names that came when people saw me, especially wearing a hat, not from the Western, not from the Western folks, but just from other people, but I let it be. That's because true. Then like the water on the back of a duck, let it run off, and the way my grandfather and grandmothers explained it was that if they don't like you for who you are, then it's their loss, not yours.
I love that. And I think too, I want to come back to the horse part of it, because as you're saying, the horse that you like, I'm going through everyone in my barn and I'm like, yeah, they all have their own unique identity. their own little quirks and nicks and all the things. And I'm starting to think, man, what have they been trying to teach me that I haven't been listening to? Your love for horses, like you said, started when you were young. It will always be there. And is that what brought you into rodeo? Or give me a little background and history on that.
What brought me into rodeo was, again, Howard Hunter Sr., a West Janice, a Howard Hunter Jr., a Smiley Sierra, a Sam Clifford, you know, man, the list is long. The list is long, and so Kevin Penny, I mean, a lot of my good friends that I grew up with, Pat Beam, and it's long. And then, Jackson Sundown, you look at the history and even the Smalls from Montana, a lot of good folks and C.L. Johnson. Those were all folks that inspired me. And what most importantly, my uncle Joe Brinks Plenty, who was a saddle bronc rider as well, but he had one of the saddle bronc horses came over on the top of him, and he passed away about a little over a week after that incident. And so no one else in my family decided to carry on. And so I loved the rodeo clowns, and they were so entertaining, and I thought, you know what, I can't let it end with my Uncle Joe. And so I started getting on. I got scared of the bucking horses and stuck with the bulls, and I was horrible at all of it. So, um, but I had heart. I'll be truthful and honest. I probably could have went somewhere because my Uncle Howard, he was the one who said, you know what, you have a gift, and he said, I'm going to make you an all-around cowboy. Because in Howard Hunter Sr., and when he was a high schooler, he won the South Dakota State Championship by himself.
Oh, wow.
Rodeo team championship by himself.
That's awesome.
And so he said, I'm going to make you an all-around. But the thing that destroyed all of that for me, and I'm going to be brutally honest, was I started drinking. And because I started drinking, I probably could have went somewhere, but alcohol got the best of me. And it led into injury into injury. And so I had to make a decision. Am I going to continue? Because I tried to maintain, I tried to be able to just have one or two and then walk away. But I was one of those guys that the first one was deadly and a million wasn't enough. And then it got to the point where I started riding where I was pretty messed up, and I got messed up, not just with, and so I made the decision that, okay, I recognized my weakness, and my weakness was my love for riding bulls. And that led me to other things that I didn't know how to control. And so I have regrets. But I'm thankful because and it doesn't, I'm not a judger of it. I mean, if some people can do it, I can't. And so I'm thank goodness I did what I did, made the choice that I made, because I've been welcomed back. I had to walk away from it, and I've been welcomed back by, Casey Lane and Kobe Yates, individuals that I have a great deal of respect for, have given me another opportunity to be around it again. And even Patrick Gotch, Patrick was a big, good, dear friend of mine, and a lot of respect for him as well. And I've always loved rodeo, and so with this platform I'm blessed with, rodeo did a lot for me in a short period of time, and it still does. And so I want to share that platform with them and hopefully bring enough recognition to the Indian athletes as well. Derek Begay does an amazing job with that as well. But there's a lot of young individuals that are coming up that are very talented, and I'm hoping that I can, inspire them, to always do the right thing to represent, because I didn't. And so.
Well, And I commend you for sharing that. It's one of the hardest things, you know. Even I relate to that myself. When I was 25, I made that decision too because I went down that same path and I hated the person that I was. And like you said, you make the decision and no judgment on anybody else or anything else. It
Yep.
just it changed my life in and out and it took me down a road and I got saved and just all the things it took me to. But I think to the biggest thing that I commend is having these conversations because it is, yes, it's something like you said, you have regrets, but not really because you made that decision. And like you said, it opened so many doors for you. And although it's painful that you maybe didn't get to experience what you thought you were capable of, the lives you're going to change by talking about it it's just going to be a tremendous impact and I think changing that trajectory in the culture because there is so much pressure mentally, physically, emotionally, no matter what event you do, whether it's timed event, rough stock event, anything, and not just in rodeo but in life. And so I think that sharing those stories, although they're hard, it's going to make a significant difference to a lot of people's lives.
Absolutely. And I mean, and kudos to you all too, who can back into a roping box and come out of there. I fall apart. I get rope all day long out in the pasture and be awesome at it. But if I back into a roping box,
Well, the one thing that the reason why we get to do it and we do it so well is because we're crazy. I mean, that's it's just
you guys know you're gifted, you're talented, and you have the power to stay calm. I can do that. I was able to do that inside the chute, but not in the roping box. I would, yeah, no way. So
it is
kudos.
it's definitely well, thank you. It's a trained thing because to train your mind to be that calm in a state of calm and react within 2 seconds or less is a big challenge in the breakaway roping. And I think a lot of people have experienced that. But I appreciate it because that means you're a fan of breakaway. So I appreciate that.
I respect it all. Honestly, even barrel racers. I mean, I did a fundraiser and I actually tried to barrel race. And so Sarah,
You have a video of that?
no, I said no one. I will do it as long as no one gets video because I didn't want anyone to know. But I did it, and Sarah Ann, she was a barrel racer, and she was like making. She told me, she goes, "Now don't embarrass me," but I think I did because I knocked over the second barrel. Yeah, I was. It was, and I was like, I don't. I could run and ride a horse like crazy out in the pasture, but doing that, mad respect for them too.
Mad respect. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, at least you hopefully didn't embarrass her too bad, but
I did.
or yeah, you probably did. I mean, I'm sure she has a video. Would love her.
I think she does. I think she does, and I think she was hollering at
The
me.
world needs to see it. Yeah. Las Vegas, we're all gearing up for it. Just like you said, you're going to be there for the premiere about Riding the Devil. Will you be there the whole time? Like, what does it look like for you in Las Vegas this year for the NFR?
Well, I am working on a project right now. That's where I'm getting ready to fly back to do some more filming, and then I think I wrap on December 6th, I believe, 5th or 6th, I can't remember. And then once I'm done with that, because I know the NFR starts on the 4th, and I was hoping to be done before then to make it on the 4th, but I won't be in Vegas until maybe the later on the 6th or the 7th for sure. And then I'll be there the entirety, for the entirety of it.
For the entire rodeo. What's your favorite event to watch at the NFR and why?
Whatever event has the closest races going on. Honestly, it don't matter if it's a timed event or if it's a rough stock event. And right now, I think the bull riding is a pretty close race. And so I that's what I like to watch, those close races, and watch those individuals put their heart and soul into it. And there's some other close races too. I believe there's some opportunities for other people to, walk away. So I just like it all. I don't have one specific event that's my favorite. I love it all.
The storylines that are told, and the one thing about the NFR too, which some of the races, like you said, there's a group of people that have a shot, but in a lot of the races within timed event and rough stock, number 15 could go in there, have a stellar NFR and come out number 1. And just to watch that progression of those athletes over the 10 days, I think it's just fascinating for me. And it's an adrenaline rush for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, you're rooting for them all. I mean, And I'm kind of, I always like the underdog story. I mean, we all do. We always
Yeah.
kind of like that Cinderella story. And but yeah, it's going to be an exciting time. And if folks don't get opportunity to watch it or be there in person, I mean, if they should try to get there in person and check it out, because it's even more exhilarating.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm excited to officially meet you in person there December 9th at the Outriding the Devil premiere and all the things that we're doing at Las Vegas. But just to wrap this up, this is something I ask all my first time guests on In the Loop. And I'm interested to see, because in a second, I don't think you have any regrets, but I also want to know, if you could go back and you could tell young Mo Brings Plenty something, what would you tell him and why?
I would tell him, I would honestly tell him to be truthful to himself. I think that's one of the most difficult things that we face as the people is being honest with ourselves. We can tell the world to be honest and expect that we want the world to be honest with us, but when it comes to ourselves, we always tend to look away and try to deny that, but I think I would go back and tell them, just be truthful and honest with yourself.
I think that's great advice. And with all the advice that you've given today on In the Loop podcast, I really appreciate it. It's so very nice to meet you. And thank you for coming on the show and sharing all of your wisdom and your history and your Lakota name. I'm not going to pronounce it because I'll get it wrong, but I can say Mo Brings Plenty. So thank you for joining us on In the Loop podcast, and we will catch you down the road.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. And real quick, people should come see the premiere, because you're going to see footage that has never been released before of Jackson Sundown and Quanah Parker.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
Yep.
December 9th at the Virgin Hotel, Las Vegas, Nevada, the premiere of Outriding the Devil. We appreciate it. And we're all excited to be there.
Absolutely.
You are officially in the loop.